System models for distributed and cloud computing. Before going to this particular topic, I already told you in the parallel and distributed computing family, grid computing, prior to grid computing, just or after grid computing, cloud computing is there, all are coming under our parallel distributed computing. So we'll see in this part what are system models means. You can say that in which platform or in which how the nodes are organized, distributed and cloud computing, how we can process a particular user application in cloud. So for that, system model is required. Some of the system models, how they are connected, and with respect to their connections, we can call them as a different technology, right? So that different models, whatever used in the distributed and cloud computing, that we'll discuss in today's class. Go parallel distributed computing system. They are divided into four parts, right? It's called as your computer cluster. Second one is peer-to-peer network or called as P2P network, called as your data computational grid platform. Uh, Parallel distributed, they can be compared using few functionalities and applications, right? So there is some real life are also there where you can distinguish one system from another system, right? For example, first comparison is that first one is architecture, network, connectivity, and sites. Okay, so if you see, I told you in computer class, a group of nodes are connected, and these group of nodes are called as your homogeneous nodes. They are execution, right? They they are they are covering everything into, say the system is a single system. That one term, single system image, right? All the system who are participating in the cluster, they must be treated as a homogeneous node, right? Application is assigned to you, right, as a cluster head or cluster manager to do your application. You can small applications or small modules you can divide among various computer systems, right, so that they can execute the work, their work to the again cluster manager will reply. So this entire system is a single image because user is only a cluster manager, every individual node. That's why network of computer nodes interconnected by, last class I told you where to use N, where to use LAN, where to use MAN, and where to use OWA. Right? Based upon your applications, you have to decide which one is preferable. Right? P network, all the systems are called autonomous system. Autonomous system is master slave relation. Master slave relationship means there is a node called master who is going to work to the slave. So master failed, then the also be collapsed, right? That's why in order to avoid that, what we are using P2P system, right? So it is a flexible network of client machines logically connected. Will tell you how physical network and overlay different, or physical network, logical network is different, right? Coming to the data and computational grid, actually data grid is different, computational grid is
Sir,
different,
your voice is breaking.
right? Hello, is my voice audible?
It's breaking continuously.
My
Hello?
voice is audible?
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Now it is clear. Hello,
It is clear.
Yes, sir.
it is clear. Okay, okay. Some network issue is there or something like that, you please inform me. Because at that time I see and participant list. Okay, if possible, you unmute and tell. Okay. So the third type of system, what we call is data computational grid. So they are different from each other. Like I go for an application is generally represented in the form of a data flow graph DFG, or we call as a directed acyclic graph, just like this, right? So you know that until unless the node A is successfully completed, you cannot start the node B, node C. So whenever you are talking about the computational grid, so you know that in each and every individual node, whatever is that is treated as your computation time. Inside node, whatever work you are doing, that is called as your computation time. Once a particular node, you have to switch to other nodes. So the time required to move from one particular node to another particular communication time, right? Try to understand. You are your doing executing instruction. That's why it is a computation. Once open a particular node, to transfer the results to other node that they can start their work. That is called a communication time. Work of computational grid is deal with this computation time, not with the communication time. Although there is there, but if you see the time required by communication, there is a huge gap. More emphasis is given to the computation rather than the communication, right? So that is called as your computation grid. Next type of grid is in operating system where a process is executing in the running phase. If it requires of IO operation or it want to prove things, right? So what it will switch from running state to the wait, okay, or IO state, right? Once IO is completed, again it will be entered to the running stage. So in that case, what happened? There is some IO work and processing work. Sometimes this IO work will computation time. If it is dominating, then we call that grid is a data grid. We are more data rather than the computation. But in the second type of grid, we are more dependent on the computation, not on the IO. That's why of your heterogeneous, right? There is that with your homogeneous node. Homogeneous node means computers are having same configuration. Grid is having heterogeneous one, right? All the computer system may not have the same configuration. Or you can go for heterogeneous clusters. Heterogeneous cluster means the computer configuration of the various clusters are heterogeneous clusters are interconnected selected resource sites. These projects are called as your resource sites in order to get a particular application, right? So in that case, we are going for data or computational grid. Third type of platform, in addition to this work, whatever provided by your data computational grid, or you can say P2P network or computational cluster, cloud adds some business concepts. It is business oriented. So what it is saying? virtualized cluster of servers over data center via SLA. SLA stands for your agreement. In software engineering, we have studied something called SRS. While you are preparing the document, client and provider sign in a particular document, that is called as your SRS document, software requirement specific. In the same thing from the cloud server, they need to sign one agreement, that is your service level agreement, right? So SLA is an agreement between the cloud user and cloud provider. Anything you want to specify, like quality of service, downtime, uptime, everything you need the SLA. If there is a conflict among cloud user and cloud provider, then SLA document will be reviewed. Based upon that, it will be decided whether cloud provider is in is having issues or the cloud user is having issues, right? Similarly, you can compare this system with respect to the control and resource management, how the resources are managed, because in terms of millions and billions, right? How you can manage, like if you go for cluster, you know that the nodes with distributed control running Unix or Linux operating system may be there, right? So if the resources are like that, how you can use these resources? Okay, the main system, a single system image is provided by your computer clusters, right? Only you will interface with computer node, not with all the nodes. Only a single node you will that node is called as your cluster manager. That cluster manager will propagate your work to other computational nodes, right? Nodes are there because it is no relationship, master slave relationship, free in and free out. At any point of time, a node may join. At any point of time, a node may leave. Right, in P2P network. Grid, it is a centralized control. It is not it's decentralized, fully decentralized nature. Server oriented with authenticated security. Security more in terms of grade, but security feature is weak in the case of cluster, because if cluster manager is compromised, then the entire network may be compromised. The security is enforced to each and every individual node. So will compromise it, it will take time to compromise the entire system. But cloud is providing dynamic resource provisioning at any point of time, 24 into 7 into 365, a particular resources, right? And cloud service provider will provide it, and you can go for any number of resources. Number of servers means any number of servers or any number of storage asked to cloud service provider, right? Similarly, if you see with respect to application networking, network centric services and representative of operational system, these are the examples. The last part is the example. For example, you know that Google search engine is the example of your computer cluster. The BitTorrent we are using, right? BitTorrent is an example of your P2P network. Terra used in the United States, also the backbone of, you can say, of service oriented architecture. We'll discuss in next unit or next module. So the Terra grid is a part of your data computational grid. Provides platform, or AWS, that is your S3, that is simple storage service, or Elastic these are the two services provided by Amazon, that we call as Amazon Web Service, is an example of your cloud platform. So in this manner, you can compare various parallel distributed computing systems. So many research paper also suggested that the backbone of cloud platform is nothing but cluster, right? Just like here it is mentioned that heterogeneous cluster makes a data or computational grids. See here, a cluster of servers. If you see, S0 is a server, S1 is another server, S2 is a server, like that Sn. So n plus 1 servers are there. They are connected as a clusters, or you can say they are connected like a star topology, or they are connected but there is a leader node. Okay, different types of connections are there. You may use SAN or LAN or NAS, right? Any type of things, whatever we discussed in the last class, that you can use. And this Ethernet, like fast Ethernet is there, 1 Gbps fast Ethernet, 10 Gbps connections are there, many connections are there in which you can connect one server with another server. Mirinet is a very famous one for connecting to different servers. Okay, it is an interconnection network. Similarly, InfiniBand, okay, anything you can use here in order to connect these cluster of servers. So they are connected to a high speed or LAN, okay, or NAS based upon the requirement, where whether you are dependent on the data or you are dependent on the computation, okay. So the entire cluster is act like a single computer attached to your internet through a particular gateway. So this entire system is treated as a single system. That's why cluster provides a important features that is called as single system image. See here, cluster, okay. If cluster the minimum, right, because all are grouped into a single point. They are not distributed. They may not be distributed. If distributed is there, latency factor will increase, because one server is maybe at US, another server it may be, uh, let's say in India, another server may be single. If they are far from each other, like data centers are deployed in various parts, then low latency. Various part of world, then there is a high latency, not low latency, high latency. If they are close to each other, then there should be a low latency. So what is our requirement? Our requirement is there should be low latency and high bandwidth. If bandwidth is high, then one node can easily communicate with another node, and latency will be minimized, which is done by your server cluster. Similarly, if you want to use SAN, generally we use Mirinet. Okay, SAN, then you are using Ethernet. NAS case, you are using network attached storage. Right? With respect to that, you can choose whether to use Mirinet or network attached storage. So cluster is nothing but the interconnection network. In cluster, you can use Ethernet or Mirinet or InfiniBand switches to communicate from one server to another server. Once, if it is overloaded, it will share its data with another server. Right? Security policy will be enforced in this case. Don't think that if a server is sharing its resources, another server will compromise that one. Right? Security policies is there. And these clusters are connected to the internet through a gateway, or by we call it virtual private network gateway, VPN gateway. By that the cluster can be connected to internet. If it is connected to internet, it may join with another cluster that is present in another place, right? So that this system may be treated as a distributed system, right? But generally, cluster, the nodes, whatever you have, there is a server and there is a set of clients. Server can be treated as your cluster manager. Clients is running under your cluster manager, right? So many people view it as a tightly coupled system, or it may be a loosely coupled system. If it is loosely coupled, it is having your own operating system. Each and every computer system is having own operating system. But if it is a tightly coupled system, the server having the operating system, and whenever a client is on, it is giving one instance to its client in order to run a particular operating system in a client, right? So I told you about the single system image. Single system image is an illusion, just like your virtual memory you have studied in operating system. It is doing an illusion. What is the illusion? Illusion says that this illusion makes the entire single system. Practically, it is not a single system, but this features makes an entire thing is a single system, right? And who enables this SSI? Who enable the cluster? We have a middleware. So generally middlewares are used at the abstract the computing environment. They are used for the security features as well. So cluster middleware is how it is supporting your single system image. So in this case, already mentioned, you can use BVM or you can use MPI in order to do the parallel programming, so that each and every individual node will get some work, busy in executing their work, and nobody will be idle state. Resource wastage should not be there. Come to the critical cluster design issues and feasible implementations. So if you want to design a cluster, you go for a particular distributed or parallel system, there is a lot of issues. Even if in cloud also there are a lot of issues are there. So the issues are with respect to the availability of the system, availability of support. Our objective is to reach high availability. High availability be as minimum as possible. If downtime less, like you know that very popular example, that is IRCTC website we are using. IRCTC website is available 23 hours per day, right? 1 hour is it is downtime. 1 hour required for maintenance, 1 hour required for generation of the report or something like that. Whenever you are going for that, you have to ensure there is some issues with respect happen that out of these 23 hours also one system may fail, one server may fail. So how to deal with that issue? That is called one of the critical issues. Like or go for failover or failback, right? If a system is failed, its backup server may come into picture. Once the is repaired or original server is recovered, or you can put it over in the server, right? The concept that is used in the fault checkpointing. Checkpoint is that, for example, the execution of the tool is 0% to 100%. There is a percent. While 63% of your work is completed, so if you want to start this work in another computer system, then it will again start from 0%. Means everything is set to 0, right? If you want to go for checkpointing concept, checkpointing says that rather than in some time, for example, one may percent, another may choose 60%, or one can choose 30%, then 60%. Let's say next one is your 85%, something like that. So what will happen if you are at 63%, then you will be back to the last checkpoint, which is at 60%, and you can create a system image. That system image is assumed in another computer system. Your your execution will not start from 0%. That is the advantages you will get. Similarly, other approaches are there. Similarly, there is going to be a failure to hardware, or there may be a failure with respect to the software also, not necessarily hardware. Your hardware may be crashed, or software you are using Windows may be also, operating system may also crash, right? And you know, in a very popular techniques who of independent disk, RAID is a very popular uh, thing, right? Where there is a lot of developments have done with respect to RAID, so that you can do in order to eliminate this hardware fault tolerance. But the feasible implementations are there or solutions are there, still these are the issues in distributed system or parallel system. Similarly, single system image. Single system image assumes the entire system as a single system or single computer. But if the entire system is treated as a single system, there is a question about transparency. People may ask, whether the system is transparent or not. Although, if you show the critical infrastructure to the user, user may not feel comfortable because user do not know what kind of interconnection network you are using, what kind of standards you are using, what kind of protocols are using, what is there in this protocol, whether security policies are there or not. Anything, these things may not be of a particular customer, but there is some customers are there. They may be aware of these things. So for them, the single system image is not a complete transparent picture. And for all level system image is also not that much easy, right? We are using virtual machines on top of the physical machines. So you are creating multiple virtual machines, right? So one virtual machine should be separated from another virtual machines. Otherwise, what happen? The data overlapping may happen, the computation overlapping may happen. Ultimately, the system may be crashed. So while you are going for such system, whether physical machine, virtual machine or physical machine, the entire system is a single system. You have to ensure that the SSI should be applicable to each and every scenario. It may not be, right? Next is your efficient communication. So you have to things that is called as a low latency and high bandwidth. If latency is maximum and bandwidth is low, then your performance will not be good. Efficiency will, right? So you have to decide that whether to use the shared memory concept or the message passing concept. In shared memory, you know, what processes are using the same memory. Just like there is some variable x, you are using the variable x, I am also using the variable x. Whatever you discover, we studied in database. Database, you know that while you are reading a data, if somebody writes the data, okay, so update given to you. Otherwise, what will happen? You have the old copy. Whatever copy you are reading, that copy is no more a current one. Happen. Similarly, next one is with respect to the cluster-wide job management. How to manage these jobs? Said that is broker. Broker is used in two contexts. One context is suppose I want to book a flight ticket. Don't know how to book a flight ticket. So what I will do? I will a particular client, or you can say sorry, particular or a the people who are booking the flight tickets, okay, travel agency we call, right? Then I will give my requirement. I need a flight booking, let's say day after tomorrow in the morning shift, not in the afternoon, right? And the flight should be XYZ company. Something I will specify. Based upon my requirement, they will book a ticket for me. So what happened? Instead of client, here we are using broker. That is the first thing. Second is broker is also treated as a matchmaker. Matchmaker means broker has a set of clients, as well, or set of resources you can say. So after receiving the requirement from each and every user and provider, it starts mapping, right? User and the side a set of resources. It maps which user and to which resources. That is the responsibility of a particular broker, right? So how this broker manages these jobs? Efficient scheduling is required in order to make efficient usage of the resources, or in order to minimize the current trend of the cloud computing. That is how we can minimize the energy, right? So this LLM are the two job management systems used in the cluster. Okay, I will tell you these things in later if possible, because this is the concept of the cluster computing. Another book you can study is High Performance Computing, Volume 1, Volume 2 by Professor Rajkumar Bhuya. In that book, you will get these details. What is LSF coding and in the jobs to the resources. Then and called as dynamic load balancing, or we call it a load balancer. Running applications, okay, or any cloud applications, in order to balance the load among the servers, there should be a load balancer. Load balancer between the loads server so that if a over its load can to the under server, or if servers are overloaded, it can add some new servers so that the load will be well among all the servers. The system makes tasks, right? So type of issues also there with respect to dynamic load balancing. And scalability and programmability. Scalability says that upon your requirement you can increase the resources, or once your requirement is over you can also decrease the resources. I told you that big billion day, suppose Flipkart is using 100 server, in big billion day required 200 server. Once big billion day is over, again it will resume to, it will back to its own original 100 servers. It will not require additional 100 servers, right? So that is the concept of your scalability. Sometimes in order to improve the resources you require programmability also. Programmability will give you the system performance will be increased by the help of this one, because each and every resources will be properly utilized. So in grid computing infrastructure, if you see this grid computing infrastructure came from your electrical grid, electricity grid. Like you, if you go to some dam, okay, in the dam, the electricity is generated, right? Turbines are there, okay. Electricity is generated and electricity is stored in the power grid. From power grid, the electricity will be given to various villages or nearby areas. In the similar manner, we are viewing the computational grid. Earlier, we have it for electrical people. In computer cases, we are using grid computing, that is called as a computational grid. Means massive storage or massive amount of computation you can achieve through the computational grid or data grid, right? It offers infrastructure, that is your computers or software middlewares or sensors. Okay, whatever data is that can be propagated from one place to another place, or you can store it, or you can compute something. So here the computer or computational grid can be achieved from a workstation or a simple personal computer or a server or a cluster in the top, the high computation, that is your supercomputer, right? And in a grid, whatever computers are participated, they are not belongs to a single organization. Billion computer systems cannot be under a single organization. Be under multiple organizations. If you go for multiple organizations, their security policies, their time zone is also different, right? So the entire system should be treated as a virtual organization. Although there is in each and every organization a set of computer systems are there which is participating with grid, but if you see the entire system, it is a virtual system. That is a virtual organization. VO architecture we say. We can provide massive amount of computational power. And one of the example I repeatedly prefer, that is called as your SCTI. That is called as a Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This is a project which was coined by University of Berkeley, right? So this SCTI at home, the main objective is search of life in the galaxy, right? This is a great computing project. If you install the BOINC platform, in BOINC platform, I'll tell you how you can add SCTI at home into BOINC project. And after adding this project, you will check what is the utilization of your computer system. Similarly, US uses TerraGrid. TerraGrid is by developed. Similarly, Europe, there is a project that is called as Enabling Grids for E-Science in Europe. This project is giving the computational power. China is using China grid, right? So these grids are developed by a particular country, okay, or it is in a particular continent. Peoples are forming a grid, and they are that is providing the massive power so that the scientific and engineering application run in that particular grid. So this is the computational grid, or you can say data grid. So see the devices that are giving some computation power. Now the vehicles are also having power. Whatever vehicles are there, four-wheeler vehicles, right? that is called as a smart car. These smart car also having some computational power. They have GPS system, they have sensors, they have radar, right? So they can also participate into a grid project and can contribute to the computation or the storage to the grid, right? So they are connected to internet, right? As it is a completely distributed system and it is under multiple organization, so they should interact with the grid system through the internet, over the internet. So any scientific application, whether it is related to biology, related to chemistry, physics, or computer science, or satellite project, they can be clocked. They can be these projects can be in a great computing system by taking the resources of various computer systems, right? So this is one typical example. Now, come to various design issues with respect to grid. The previous design issues are with respect to the cluster. This is with respect to grid. In overall, you will see that there are some design issues are there with respect to parallel distributed system. So they have taken two things. One is either computational or your data grid. Next one is you call your P2P system, right? First design issues is with respect to grid application reported. Like supercomputer also can be participated in your grid, right? Distributed supercomputing, you know, various supercomputers are there, that is listed in top500.org. Sometimes we require that much power, that's why we are connecting one supercomputer with another supercomputer. And these supercomputers are not placed in a single place, they are in a world. That's why we call it a distributed supercomputer, right? Or National Grid Initiative by US, right? That is also one of the grid applications. Then in P2P system, there is an open grid with P2P flexibility. All resources from the client machines. The resources are not owned by a particular organizations. These are taken from the client machines. So example of your computational grid, you know that there is a Terra grid or China grid. UK also uses eScience grid is an example of your computational data grid, and SCTI at home or Fight Aid at home belongs to the P2P grid. A lot of projects are there. If you install BOINs in your computer system, you will find around 50 projects are there. It will be classified into your computational data grid or your P2P grid. Right? Like that, there are several issues with respect to grid computing structure. So if you go for P2P network families, right? See, this is an example of P2P system with your client server system. In client system, what happened? Client initiates a request to the server, that is called as your request. Server replies with a response. So we called it a client server system is also called as a request response model. Request response model means client always something from the server and server always replies with some response, right? So there is a relationship here that systems are not independent. You can say the instances of these servers are running under each and every individual client. So there is a drawback that if server is failed, then it will impact to the client with server systems. But here, if you see, there is no master slave relationship, right? One client is connected to another client directly. If one client is failed, it will not collapse the entire system. That is the advantages you will get in the P2P system. And whenever we are going, okay, it is divided into two layers. The physical level, another is called logical level. Logical level is also called as your overlay network. So see this example. If you see, this is the structure of a P2P system where we are mapping the physical IP network. This is a physical IP network to an overlay network that is called as a logical network. So this is the physical link. You can see one computer or one server is connected to another server through a router or a gateway or some interconnection devices. So that is your physical network, and each and every computer is assigned with a IP address. But Suppose I want to communicate among only these devices. Okay, I want to connect only these devices. So on top of the physical link, I can create a logical link. That is our overlay network. So that I can, instead of going for this physical link, I can establish the virtual link. So that I can connect these computers to my work. Okay, that is the advantages. One advantages you will get, there is no master slave relationship, there is no centralized computing, P2P system, and you can separate the your physical network with the logical network, so that each and every network can be treated unique network or a single network. Okay, that is possible. Physical link with the virtual link, right? But originally the IP network only. So this physical network is a ad hoc network. Ad hoc means it is a temporary network, because some point of a peer may join, a leave. Anybody can leave. But if you see average number of resources that can execute any work in the P2P system or in your grid system, we are using this one P2P grid. PIP protocol, the way first protocol is studied in network protocol, right? So these are same topology concept is ad hoc. The size of the network and topology is very, because anytime a node may leave, anytime a node may join. Right? The structure of the network is rapidly changing. Providing voluntary resources, they are not paid for any work. Simply your system. Okay, you can be spending to SCTI at home project, right? Peer ID is added. When a new peer is leaving, peer ID is removed. So what we are doing? We are mapping the physical machine with your ID, right? So that we are updating how many computer systems are active at the same time. This overlay network, whatever you are constructing on the top of the physical network, may be a structured one, may be an unstructured one. If a unstructured one is by a random graph, if you concentrate each and every node as a computer resource, then you can say it is a random graph. So there is no fixed route. If a computer want to connect with another computer system, it is not aware of the system, because it is a completely ad hoc system, right? In ad hoc system, you are taking a subset of system in order to make a overlay network. So there is no fixed route. Sometimes it will lead to message. Every time a node need to propagate a message to say that that node is live. Node is not in a sleep mode, or node is not failed. Link is not failed. In order to make sure that we are sending I am alive message, similar to your I am alive message or hello packet, whatever you have studied in computer network. Okay, so if you are going for message flooding, so what will happen? Sometimes the network traffic is very high, heavy network traffic. Okay, it will result your non-deterministic search results. But if it is a completely structured one, then you can perform an efficient routing. Routing is nothing but finding a proper path for between two different nodes. That is possible by the help of structured overlay network. The major categories of P2P system, if you see, there are four categories are there. One is called as your distributed file sharing. Like in your hostel, if you are using some software, DC++, right? In DC++, what we are doing, in into DC++, you have to cross the minimum limit. For example, I will fix the minimum limit is 10 GB of data. Then only you can participate in this particular software DC++. Once you go for DC++, 10 GB is already set. You can also view the resources of. You can download movies. You can download software. Okay, in a fraction of second, right? Or in a minute you can download everything. So if you are going for music and video, you can go for distributed file, right? The very popular BitTorrent or Napster, okay, these are used in the distributed file sharing. Second type of platform, you know that very popular early days we are using chatting or for that you can go for collaborative platform, right? You can exchange the message between different, okay, nowadays we are very Skype, okay, or you can say group multiplayer are examples of your collaborative. Actually, distributed P2P platform is used for the attractive application is nothing but scientific exploration and social networking. So it is having more computational power, right? More things you can do in comparison to your distributed file sharing and collaborative platform. The expressive power of these things is different to the previous one. Okay. So this SCTI at home or Genome at home, right? This Genome home also belongs to one of the projects. See, is belongs to your distributed P2P computing. P2P platform, which is an open network for public. A very famous project that is fighting AIDS at home. There is another project in the grid computing called Fight Malaria at Home. Okay, thanks to your P2P platform, right? So see here, SCTI at home. It is mentioned here that SCTI at home internet host machines. Total number of machines at a time live is 3 million. 3 million computers are not belongs to a single organization. They various organizations, right? And they are generating 25 teraflops plops of computing. This much power is these 3 million computer systems are giving this much power so that you can execute a very big work into SCTI at home. Then P2P computing systems is three types of heterogeneity problem. Heterogeneity means there is having various structures with respect to their hardware, with respect to the software, with respect to the network. The hardware used in each and every P2P peers is different. The software used having different. Okay, and the network requirement is also different in each and every P2P system. There is no standard one. Now in cloud also people are asking that when the service level agreement will be standardized. Once the service level agreement will be standardized, once the protocol and standard used by each and every cloud service provider, if they are standardized, then what benefit you will get? You can switch from one cloud service provider to another cloud service provider. Otherwise, what will happen? The formats used in the one organization, one cloud service provider is different from another service provider, so you cannot one CSP. Okay. If you go for distributed, there are three design objectives. One is data locality, right? So data, whatever required for computation should be available, so that you can compute your work. If at a particular place, then the machines will be lead to system inefficiency. Network proximity, the area you need to area proximity means close to each other. Okay, if all the computers are connected to a close proximity, the computation may be interoperability, right? Irrespective of the operating system, you can do your work. You cannot say that this is this operating system when other operating system it will not work. Okay, so P2P performance is affected by conditions. Unstructured, then routing will not be efficient. If a structured one, then you can achieve routing efficiency because there is a fixed structure. Unstructured, anyone can leave and join. So that establishing whenever you are establishing a particular structure, then what will happen? One computer may join, one computer may leave. So that is the problem. Failure, load balance, problem in the parallel distributed system. Fault tolerance says that if any or any fault is there, if hardware failure or software failure, any fault there, it should not to your performance of the system. If you can say that my system is fault tolerant. Load balancing, load contributed to each and everything, the resources should be more or less okay. Then lack of trust among peers, right? As peers are independent of each other, like server architecture, servers know who is the whether he is a thinking client or not. Before responding to a particular email, the server will verify whether the client is the original one or not. But in peer-to-peer systems, there. So what will happen? There is a lack. One peer will not another peer. So if there may be a security violation, okay. And if there is a malice will join, okay, or a join a node, then it will compromise your security, it will compromise your privacy, and copyright is also. The definition provided by IBM with respect to cloud is a pool of virtualized computer resources. And these virtual computer resources, if you go to a particular data center, from data center you are providing, so there the physical computer resources are there provided in the virtualized form. Means everything needs to be executed in the data or the client side. Cloud can a variety of different workloads, including batch style, backend jobs, or interactive and user-facing applications. Batch applications means you in the form of a queue or in a batch. Once the then only you will process or once the application is received by a provider, you will sometimes user can also interact with systems also, right? So you can see user is requesting the services. It may be a storage, it may be a software network, and these services are provided by the user, and user is going to pay for that services, right? So that is called as a pay as you go model in cloud. You know there are three types of provided with respect to the service. Three types. Later there are so many classifications are also there. One is infrastructure as a service. In infrastructure as a service, we are dealing with storage, network, and everything will be given in the form of virtual machines, which is we discussed that is called as a virtualization technology and data center fabric. So if you need servers, storage, network like Google Drive or you can take as a service. Next one is platform as a service. Platform provides the middleware, right? You can abstract the environment, databases. If you want to the operating system is a platform, you also take the particular platform in which you can run it. Generally, we have 2.0 technology or Web 3. The recent launch Web 3.0 in order to run various applications. That comes under our platform as a service. The last one, that is your software as a service, the very famous Gmail, okay, or Flickr, right? You are using software as a service. So software as a service is used by various organizations. Like if you require customer relationship management, resource plan, many organizations are heading towards SAS. SAS it generates more revenue in comparison to IAS pass and SARS, and IAS in the second position. But during this situation like COVID-19, we are expecting that, right? In picture you can see here there are three cloud service models are there. One and few Amazon, GoGrid, software as a service, platform as a service, and they are related. So you can browse in Google providing infrastructure who is providing from what you provide as a service. And what provide also. But they may be best known. For example, Amazon is best for infrastructure as a service. integrate with the popular platform as a service and software as a service, so that the unique things can be provided to the user. Similarly, with respect to the location, if you see, the cloud is divided into 4 types of deployment model. One is your private cloud, right? Private cloud is again 2 types. One is your on-premises cloud, off-premises cloud. On-premises means everything you are managing in your organization boundary. Off-premises means you are doing outside the boundary. Just do nitw.ac.in, our email ID is not is a service given by the Google, but these website these email IDs are not managed. So we subscribe off premises private cloud, right? If these email servers everything will be managed by NITW, then we can claim it on premises private cloud. Public cloud, anybody can participate, like gmail.com, right? Anybody can open an account, anybody can create an account in Gmail and use the services. That is private cloud, sorry, public cloud. Another is called managed cloud or community cloud. What happen, one particular software company has various branches. If they want to run a project collaboratively, so they can obtain this particular cloud, community cloud or managed cloud, so that they can share their information. And hybrid is a combination of any two, private and public or managed, or private and managed. Another 5 regions to adopt the cloud. First, location with great space and higher energy efficiency. Okay, if you the data center amount of huge amount of cooling or chiller, right? So for that you need, whenever you are placing, you have to ensure that there is a water cooling is required or air cooling is required. Okay, and such type of facility should be available in a particular location. Second one is peak load capacity among a large pool of users, improving the overall utilization. If a data center, whatever resources are there, if they are properly utilized, okay, or if they are overutilized, then it is able to share the resources to other data centers. Okay, so whenever there is a peak load, at that time you are able to share the resource with others. That is the second reason. Third one is separation of infrastructure maintenance duties from the domain specific application deployment. You know that day by day the loads in the data center is drastically increasing, because you know that in Facebook people are using so many posts. So you see that data center used in by Facebook, they need also, you need to expand the infrastructure, right? They need to also deploy the application with respect to particular applications. They need to develop the infrastructure in such a manner that application can be deployed and seamless services can be provided to the. So that is also one of the factors. Significant reduction in cloud computing cost compared to traditional computing paradigm. Traditional computing, you are doing infrastructure. So if infrastructure is not that much capable, you have to replace it. So your cost is very high. But whenever you go for the cloud computing, this thing will be done by cloud service provider. So there is a significant reduction in the case of cloud computing. Next is cloud computing programming and development. The applications whatever you have developed, or the programming whatever you are doing, you have to ensure that these are done in a very, okay, and the resource requirement for these applications will be increased or decreased at any point of time. Such types of adoption should be provided by cloud. Similarly, the next one is service discovery and content service distributions. You know that dynamic provision is provided by cloud. So that the resources can be dynamically provisioned. It can provide the scalability concept. It can also provide any device. From that device, I can access to the cloud. I can monitor the resources of the cloud applications. Okay, so the content distribution in the cloud should be enough. It leads low and high bandwidth. Similarly, privacy, security, copyright, and reliability issues is still there in cloud computing. Open challenge security in cloud. Many organizations are reluctant because security and copyright liability issues, service agreement and business price policies will be different, right? And the agreement, whatever prepared by a cloud, if you see that the agreement is provided by cloud service provider and client is simply signing the document because the technical terms, whatever specified in the service level, that may not be understood by a client or a cloud user. So such type of simplicity will be there. The adoption, okay, will be increased. Okay, or peoples will use the cloud. If you see are using whatever companies are heading towards the cloud, it will be drastically increased. So these are the 8 reasons why people want to adopt the cloud computing. But in each and every point, there is some open issues that is solved by various researchers.